Today we're going to be walking through how to de-risk technology investments through change adoption framework, and a little bit more on essentially what that means, and a little bit about Imperium today. But before I get into that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Sam Lutman. I'm a associate director of client success over here at Imperium Dynamics. And then joining me is Hamza Khan. Hamza, I'll let you say a quick hello to everybody today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Hamza Khan, and I'm the development manager for AI business processes. So excited to showcase what we have prepared for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Hamza. And if they're just quick housekeeping, right? If any questions pop up, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll be giving them to the end of the webinar. And feel free to drop in the chat if they pop up, and we'll get them to the end. But so quick just background here. So organizations today, right, are making significant investments in enterprises, enterprise platforms, cloud infrastructure, automation, artificial intelligence, ERP systems, and customer engagement technologies, right? The works, essentially. These investments are typically made with clear expectations, greater productivity, and lower operational costs. These also trigger stronger decision-making, improved customer experiences, and more scalable business operations throughout. However, purchasing or implementing the right technology does not automatically produce those outcomes. In many cases, the technology itself performs as intended, but the organization struggles to translate implementation into adoption. So employees either continue relying on legacy processes, or teams use only fraction of what's available functionality wise, and leadership lacks visibility into whether the platform is really actually delivering value, and the expected return on investment takes much longer to materialize. That is the core issues of kind of what we're going to be addressing today. And this session is not just simply an overview of how to deploy technology. It's really about how to create the organizational conditions required for that technology to be accepted, used consistently, and embedded into everyday operations. So like I said, we will explore how Imperium Dynamics approaches change adoption and as a structured business discipline, one that begins before implementation and continues well beyond the go live. But again, some housekeeping items that we will cover today that we kind of went through there. But before, I want to touch a little bit about Imperium Dynamics. So we are a Microsoft consulting partner first and foremost. We hold all 6 partner designations, so it really allows us to work freely with anywhere within the Microsoft ecosystem, supporting on Copilot, business applications, Power Platform, and turning those into real business solutions for companies using that Microsoft technology. We also have several different ISVs that we built on top of the platform that you can see here. And then a couple of our logos that we've worked in various different industries with healthcare, consulting, real estate, finance, really anything you can name there. And then we were awarded Fast Track Recognized Solution Architect by Microsoft 4 years in a row. So, we do have the necessary means on the Microsoft side as well. Moving right along here, a little bit about the agenda of what we're going to be covering today. We'll begin by examining the real cost of failed or incomplete technology adoption. This includes not only failed implementations, but also projects that technically go live while fall short of their intended business value. From there, we'll introduce the Imperium Dynamics Change Adoption Framework. These 6 phased model designated to connect the technology implementation journey with the people, process, governance, and enable activities required for sustainable adoption. We will then walk through each phase from early collaboration and readiness assessment through implementation, training, migration, post-launch support, and continuous optimization throughout. We will then share examples of how this approach has been applied in enterprise technology and Microsoft Copilot adoption programs. And by the end of the session, our objective for you is to hope to leave you with a clear understanding of these 3 things, right? First, why technology investments often underperform, even when the implementation is successful. Second, what a structured adoption strategy should include. And third, how organizations can begin reducing adoption risk before the technology initiative reaches go live. So with that being said, I will pass it off to Hamza to dive into a little bit about the high cost of technology investment failures and why it is so prolific today.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for the introduction. So today, as the statistics shown on this slide highlight the scale of the challenge, a significant percentage of technology projects either fail entirely, exceed budget and timelines, or deliver only a portion of value which was originally expected. However, it means to define what failure actually means. Failure doesn't always mean that the system was cancelled or that the technology stopped working. A project can be technically delivered on time and still fail from a business perspective. For example, a new CRM system may be implemented, but sales team continue maintaining customer information in its spreadsheets. Another example would be an AI assistant may be introduced, but employees do not trust the output or they don't understand how to incorporate it into their work. Moreover, an ERP platform may go live, but business teams create manual workarounds because the new workflows were not clearly communicated or properly tested with end users. A customer service platform may contain advanced functionality, but agents continue using the only most basic features because they were not adequately trained upon. In each of these solutions, the organization has made the investment, but the intended value remains unrealized and uncovered. This actually creates several layers of cost. There is this direct cost of software, licensing, implementation, consulting, integration, and data migration and training. Now, this also there is also this indirect cost of lost productivity, delayed decision making, employee frustration, duplicated processes, and continued reliance on legacy systems. There is an opportunity cost as well. When adoption is delayed, the organization is also delaying the benefits of the technology which was intended to create. The central message is that the technology risk is not limited to the technical delivery. It is also an adoption risk, an operational risk, and ultimately a business performance risk, which is quite important. Moreover, organizations that treat adoption as a formal work stream are significantly better positioned to meet project objectives because they are managing both the solution and the organization change surrounding it. Moreover, onto this in the next slide.
Yep.
Thank you. So, across different industries and technology programs, we consistently see four major barriers. First and foremost, the technical complexity. The first barrier is technical complexity. Most enterprise technology initiatives do not operate in isolations. New platforms must integrate with legacy systems, existing data sources, security model, and business applications. Data may be stored across different streams and systems. Teams may follow inconsistent workflows. Access permissions may not be defined very clearly. The existing integrations may be fragile or poorly documented. We have all seen that in some of the scenarios. Moreover, if these technical dependencies are not identified earlier, they can create delays, they can disrupt business operations, and reduce user confidence in the new platform. From an adoption perspective, this is important because employees judge new technologies based on their everyday experience. If the system is slow, unreliable, disconnected, or requires duplicate data entry, users will naturally turn to tools and processes that they already know. Secondly, the second barrier is communication. Employees need to understand more than what is changing. That's an important one. They need to understand why change is happening, how it supports business priorities, what it actually means for their role, and when they will be expected to work differently. When the communication is inconsistent or delayed, employees often feel the information gap themselves. This can create uncertainty, resistance, inaccurate assumptions about the project, which could entirely derail the whole thing. Effective communication should therefore be continuous rather than limited to a launch announcement. It should begin early, it should be tailored to different stakeholder groups or users and provide clear opportunities for questions and feedback. The third barrier is employee resistance. Resistance is often treated as an attitude problem, but in many cases, it's a rational response to uncertainty. Employees may be concerned that the new system will increase their workload, reduce their autonomy, change performance expectations, or make their existing knowledge less valuable. This may also experience, they may, for example, they may also have experienced previous technology initiatives that were poorly implemented, which can create some sort of skepticism towards new programs. It identifies if they are identified earlier and if they engage employees in the process and creates visible evidence that the feedback is being considered. Resistance is reduced when employees understand the purpose of the change, see how it improves their work, and feel supported throughout the transition. The fourth barrier is the insufficient training. Training is often scheduled to close to go live and delivered as a one-time system demonstration. However, employees do not simply need to know where buttons are located. They need to understand how the new technology changes their responsibilities, how it changes their workflows, their decisions, and their interactions with other teams, which is the great value that is intended from the start. Moreover, different roles also require different levels of enablement. An executive may need to see some dashboards and performance insights. A manager may only need to see dashboards, approval workflows, reporting, and team oversight. An operational user may need detailed process training. Moreover, a technical administrator may require configuration, security, and support knowledge. When training is role based and scenario driven and reinforced after the launch, users are more likely to apply what they have learned. Moreover, to this on how Imperium changed this adoption framework in the next slide. Thank you, Sam. Now, now that we have examined the most common barriers to technology adoption, the next question arises is how does Imperium Dynamics help organization manage these risks in practice? Our approach is not based on deploying technology first and addressing adoption later. We treat technical delivery, business alignment, and user readiness and operational continuity as interconnected components of the same transformation program. The approach begins with understanding the client's current environment and continues through phased delivery, user enablement, and post implementation support. There are 6 core focus areas within this approach, which we'll be discussing now. First and foremost, we have discovery and scoping. Before recommending a platform, architecture, or an implementation plan, we work with the client to understand the environment in which the solution will operate. This includes reviewing the existing technology landscape, business processes, and operational challenges, system dependencies, user requirements, and strategic priorities. We also work to understand the organization's future state vision. This objective is not simply to identify what needs to be replaced or automated. It is to understand what the organization is trying to achieve and how technology should support that objective, which is a main point. For example, the business priority may be to reduce processing time, improve data visibility, eliminate manual handoffs, lower licensing cost, or create more scalable operating model. These outcomes become the foundation of the engagement. By establishing this context at the beginning, we can define the scope more accurately, surface risk earlier, and ensure that the proposed solution remains connected to measurable business needs. Moreover, with requirement prioritization, once the environment and objectives are understood, we move into requirement prioritization. Enterprise technology programs often involve a large number of requirements from different departments, stakeholder groups, and user roles. Not every requirement carries that same level of value, that same level of urgency, feasibility, or organizational readiness. We therefore work with stakeholders to assess and prioritize requirements based on four principal considerations. Number one, business value. Number two, organizational readiness. Number three, we have technical feasibility. And number four, we have the expected impact. What would be the outcome? Now, this process helps distinguish between the capabilities that are essential for initial implementation and the capabilities that can be introduced later into the processes. It also helps prevent uncontrolled scope expansion. Rather than attempting to deliver every possible feature during the first release, we focus on the requirements that address the most critical business needs and create a stable foundation for future growth. N- This allows the organization to realize value earlier while maintaining a clear path toward broader transformation. Now, the third focus area is roadmap planning. Once priorities have been established, we translate them into a structured phased transformation plan. The roadmap defines how the organization will move from its current state to the desired future state. It's an important one. It considers the sequence of business processes, technical components, data migration activities, integration, and adoption requirements. The intention is to balance immediate outcomes with long-term scalability. Organizations often need to demonstrate value quickly, but short-term delivery should not create technical debt or limit future expansion. We all know how these two things affect the process. Our roadmap therefore identifies opportunities for early impact while ensuring that underlying solution can support additional users, use case, departments, business requirements over the passage of time. The roadmap also creates greater transparency for the leadership. It provides a clear view of what will be delivered, when it will be delivered, and which dependencies need to be addressed, and how success will be measured throughout the engagement. The fourth area is continuous client engagement. Technology transformation cannot be delivered without effectively through isolated project activity. Business stakeholders need regular visibility into the progress, design decision, risks, testing outcomes, and upcoming milestones. We, Imperium Dynamics, maintain alignment through weekly or bi-weekly calls, solution reviews, demonstration feedback sessions, and formal validation checkpoints. These touch points will allow stakeholders to see solution as it develops rather than waiting at the end of the implementation to provide feedback. This is particularly important because requirements may evolve as users begin to interact with the solution. A process that appears completely during initial discovery may require refinement once it is demonstrated in a working environment. That's one example. Another one is regular engagement allows these adjustments to be identified and managed early when they are less disruptive and less costly, which is an important one. It also creates shared accountability between the implementation team and the client. Business decisions are documented, expectations remain visible, the stakeholders have defined opportunity to validate that the solution continues to support the intended outcomes. The fifth area is phased delivery. Rather than introducing significant operational change through a single high risk launch, We used phased rollouts, staged integrations, and controlled migrations and validation environments where appropriate. This allows the organization to test the solutions in manageable stages. For example, a rollout may begin with specific processes, department, location, or user group. Therefore, before expanding across the wider organization, integrations can also be introduced gradually, allowing the project team to validate the system behavior and address the issues before additional dependencies are added. Controlled migration is especially important when the new platform affects critical business operations. Moving too quickly can create data issues, process disruption, user confusion, and increase support demand. A phased approach reduces the risk by allowing the organization to learn from each stage, refine the solution, and build confidence before scaling further. It also enables earlier value realization because priority capabilities can be introduced without waiting for every component of the broader transformation to be completed. The final area is adoption. A technically successful implementation only creates value when people use the solution effectively and consistently. We therefore support users through training, documentation, adoption planning, go live assistance, and post implementation support. Training is aligned with different roles and business responsibilities. Executive may require visibility into reporting, performance indicators, and decision making capabilities, whereas managers may require guidance on approvals, team oversight, and workflow management. Whereas operational users, which is a different persona, may require detailed scenario based trainings connected to their everyday responsibilities. We also develop supporting documentation, process guides, reference materials, and other resources that users can access after formal training sessions have ended. During Go Live, users receive additional support as they begin applying the solution in real operation situations. This actually allows to this actually allows issues to be addressed quickly and help prevents users from returning to legacy systems or manual processes which we talked about earlier. The post implementation support then focuses on stabilizing the solution, monitoring adoption, identifying areas of underutilization, and refining the platform as the organization's needs evolve. Together, these six areas create a structured approach to technology transformation. Discovery ensures that we understand the business before recommending the solution. Prioritization ensures that the delivery remains focused and on the most valuable requirements. The roadmap planning, it actually connects immediate outcome with long-term scalability. The client engagement maintains alignment and accountability on both sides. Phased delivery reduces operational and implementational risk, and adoption ensures that the investment translates into sustained business value. This is how Imperium Dynamics moves technology initiatives beyond implementation and towards measurable operational transformation. Moreover, on this in the next slide. So, how the framework de-risks your investment. The value of framework can be understood across four primary business outcomes. First is it accelerates time to value. When employees are prepared before go live, they can begin using the platform more effectively from the beginning. There is less time lost to confusion, repeated training, process uncertainty, and manual workaround. The organization can therefore begin realizing productivity improvements and operational benefits sooner. Second, it improves adoption and feature utilization. Role-based trainings, stakeholder engagement, communication, and post-launch support help employees move beyond Basic system usage. Users are more likely to understand how the platform supports their work and are more likely to use the capabilities that were included in the original business use case as intended. Now, higher utilization is particularly important for platforms such as Dynamics 365, Microsoft Copilot, ERP systems, and automation tools. Their significant value depends on the constant usage across multiple teams. Third, the framework reduces project and operational risk. Readiness assessments and early stakeholder engagement help identify these risks before they affect the implementation. Testing and phased migration reduce the likelihood of business disruption. Moreover, clear governance improves decision making and accountability. Continuous communication helps prevent surprises and maintains the leadership confidence. And together, these practices help protect budget, timeline, operational continuity, and executive credibility. Finally, the framework creates a scalable and repeatable approach. The organization is not only adopting one platform, it is also building the internal capability for future transformation initiatives. The same principle can be applied across Dynamics 365, ERP modernization, cloud migration, Microsoft Copilot, AI agents, automation, and other enterprise technology. Over the time, this creates more change ready organization that can adopt new capabilities with less disruption and greater consistency. Now, moreover, we'll see the real results and client success stories, which Sam will
Yep.
deep dive into.
Thanks so much, Hamza, for going through those and in great detail and kind of
Thank
highlighting
you.
how the framework de-risks within your investment as well. Very, very tangible and good insight. So thank you very much for going into that.
Thank you.
Like Hamza said here, I'm going to jump into a couple of real results and client success stories that I myself worked on and sort of how we rolled this out, right? But so with that being said, let us look at how these principles translate into real, client environments. So with HSS, right, Power Platform Modernization and Implement Ordering Automation was kind of the name of the game. The transformation centered around modernizing a legacy implant ordering application. The existing solution that they had was built on out systems and relied heavily on manual inventory tracking and operational processing. This created several challenges for them. Employees had limited real-time visibility into inventory levels and order statuses. Manual activities increased the amount of time required to complete orders and introduced greater potential for process delays or data inconsistencies throughout the organization. The organization also was carrying high licensing costs associated with their existing platform. The challenge was therefore broader than just replacing an application. HSS really needed to modernize a process, critical ordering processes, while improving operational speed, reducing manual effort, and strengthening inventory visibility, and creating a more, cost-effective technology environment throughout, right? So our approach there was to migrate the legacy application from OutSystems to Microsoft Power Platform. The modernization program was dedicated around the way users manage implant ordering and inventory activities in their daily operations. So barcode scanning was introduced to simplify and accelerate ordering activities. This allowed users to capture information directly through the barcode-enabled process rather than relying on repeated manual data entry. Also, we introduced a model delivery applications were developed to provide a structured and more centralized environment for managing orders, inventory data, and related business processes. Also, a custom user experiences were also introduced to ensure that the solution remained intuitive and aligned with the needs of the employees that were using it. And then automated workflows were implemented to reduce manual handoffs and move information through the ordering process more efficiently. Importantly, the modernization was approached as both a technology and a process transformation. The objective on this deal was to not recreate the legacy application on a different platform. The the objective was to simplify the process, reduce unnecessary manual activity, and improve visibility and establish a more scalable foundation for future development that HSS could grow on. The results were significant, right? Workflow automation reduced manual processing by approximately 80%. This meant that employees were no longer required to complete the same volume of repetitive administrative tasks, allowing them to focus on higher value operational activities. The barcode-enabled operations reduced order complication time to approximately 45 seconds. So this represented a substantial improvement in process speed and helped create a more consistent ordering experience. About 75% reduction in licensing costs through Power Platform monetization, and then real-time visibility analytics for faster decision-making throughout. The key takeaway with HSS engagement demonstrates that successful modernization is not simply a platform migration. It requires clear understanding of operational processes, careful modernization of business requirements, and user-centered design, controlled implementation, and automation that produces measurable outcomes. Now, in the case for LBB, the enterprise technology rollout, the challenge here was enterprise-wide technology implementation requiring a smooth adoption and higher user buy-in. The approach, on-the-ground training, and a comprehensive change adoption program. This initiated smooth enterprise rollout with minimal disruption, higher user buy-in and engagement across the teams. So no fragmented teams working within each other, engagement throughout and across, which is very great to see. Effective technology integration too, so across the entire organization. Third parties were integrated successfully within the platform, and then sustained adoption post-launch, a long-term value realization that they could build upon and grow with their company as they continue to grow. So with that being said, if you are ready to de-risk your next technology investment, as you evaluate your next technology initiative, there are several questions worth considering, right? Are the business outcomes clearly defined and understood across leadership and operational teams? Have the people most affected by the changes been involved early on enough? Do employees understand the why the change is necessary and how it affects their roles? Is tailoring or training, or I guess in this case, right, training tailored to different user groups, a real business scenario? Is there a plan to measure adoption after the go live? And is there a support optimization model in place once the implementation team steps away? Whatever the questions you have about your next technology investment are, Imperium Dynamics will work with your organization to assess that risk, build a structured adoption strategy, and connect the technology implementation to measurable business outcomes. Whether your initiative involves ERP, Dynamics 365, Microsoft Copilot, AI agents, cloud services, or process automation, our objective is to help ensure that your investment becomes a working business capability rather than simply another deployed system. With that being said, thank you again so much for joining us today. The most important takeaway that we want to gather for you guys from the session is that technology value is not created at go live. Value is created when employees understand the technology, trust it, use it consistently, and apply it to improve business performance. Right? A structured change adoption framework allows organizations to manage that journey intentionally. It connects leadership, aligns business readiness, technical delivery, and communication, and aligns everybody within, right? So we will now open the floor for questions. If you have any, please feel free to ask about the framework, specific challenge adoption, whatever the case may be. You can drop it in the chat. But again, thank you guys so much for joining. Hamza, anything to close from your side?
No, that's very beautifully concluded, Sam. I mean, it's very important for folks to understand how this adoption is going to work out or pan out into the objectives that they've already thought about. So it's a very good thing and nicely concluded. That would be all from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Thanks so much.